Thank you, Mr. President, ladies and gentlemen. Actually, I am very happy to be in Cambridge. You know why? Because 103 years ago, a gentleman by the name of Arthur Balfour decided to issue something called Balfour Declaration. I think you have heard about it. And by the way, he was Cambridge graduate. And I'm not here, by the way, to blame you for what Balfour has done. But when I read in the Union letterhead defending free debate, isn't it like that? Since 1815, which is a very interesting year, by the way, 1815, from the Napoleonic Wars, I felt excited because definitely I'm coming to the institution where no pressure can be put on in order to change the wordings. I was invited to debate the issue whether the West should pressurize Israel to end occupation. Then I came here and I found I am debating an issue called whether this House should pressure Israel to give land for peace. You know what does that mean? I don't understand why there was pressure on you to change the word occupation. Someone didn't want the word occupation to be here. No one in the world, no respected body or government or international law in the world does not recognize that the land of Palestine in 1967 was occupied, but Israel and the lawyers of Israel. No one. It is a fact. No one. United States of America, even UK that we are in. The word occupation is not controversial, ladies and gentlemen. It is the fact of the matter. And when we speak about occupation, there are legalities about occupation. This is the same terminology that this House adopted the resolution that the House will send the troops to defend Ukraine against the Russian occupation. The word occupation is important. Why was that removed from the motion? I wonder. Now, let us move on. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm a Palestinian, of course, you know. And one of the most important lessons in my life was not actually in Palestine. It was in South Africa. I joined the South African struggle for freedom in 1995, and I continued to live in South Africa for about 8 years, monitoring the transformation in that country from an apartheid state into democracy through a terrorist, by the way, was classified even in UK as a terrorist, called Nelson Mandela. And then every argument I heard today from the lady and the gentleman are actually I heard from the white supremacists in South Africa. Every single argument was repeated exactly the same. That the blacks and the Africans are not qualified to run the... What if terrorists take over? What is going to happen? The whites will be annihilated in South Africa. And all these kind of things. This is why they offer them something called Bantustan. Exactly the Bantustan that the Israeli government offered to the Palestinians right now in West Bank. And they tell you the Palestinians have autonomy. Serious? We read the news. I was a director of one of the most important news agencies in the Middle East. And you tell me that we have autonomy? We didn't know about that. Every single day, the Israeli army is going into towns and villages and camps and killing people. And the Palestinians cannot stop them. The Palestinian police can never stop them, cannot talk to them. And what kind of autonomy do we have? When our water, 85% of the water in West Bank, is in fact used for the Israelis, and especially the Israeli settlers who are living, who have confiscated people's land and lived on it. Today, Beit Salim, issued a report. Beit Salim, by the way, is an Israeli organization. They issued today a report called Drying. And that in that report, if you go now to their website, you will see it. They are talking about how much an Israeli settler in West Bank is getting water versus the Palestinian. At least 3 times. Electricity, the same. Movement. We are not allowed to move from one village to another unless you go through many checkpoints. Al-Masjid al-Aqsa, the mosque in Jerusalem during the time of Ramadan, only certain category of people were allowed to worship in it. People who are above 55 years old. And the rest were not allowed. The Christians who went to celebrate their festival in the church as well, also they were prevented from doing that. And then we have autonomy. I did not know about that kind of autonomy that we are referring to, really. I wish if we have that kind of autonomy. Then we are going to annihilate the Israelis, the Jews. Really? Really? We have been living with the Jews for centuries. Our neighbors are Jews. Our friends are Jews. Judaism was an integral part of the Middle East for centuries. The Muslims and the Arabs protected the Jews when they were persecuted in Andalusia and they migrated to Istanbul. Since when we had a problem with the Jews? The issue of the Jews coming, establishing a homeland in Palestine was an Occidental issue, not Oriental issue. Not because we deny the Jews having freedom. It was the Western enterprise. It was the Western way of thinking, the double standards. This is why, by the way, when you say, let us pressurize the West, I have given up on the West, basically. The double standards, the hypocrisy. What kind of West are we pressurizing? The British, who stole the land of Palestine and handed over to Zionist organizations? The Americans, who have vetoed for the last 20, 30 years every single Security Council resolution that might restrict the Israelis from harming the Palestinians. What West are we talking about? I'm not talking about the Western governments. I'm talking about you. The generation that I feel today they are connected beyond the hegemony of the state and the hegemony of the mainstream media that has been distorting every fact about Palestine. Yes, I do acknowledge that the Israelis are powerful. They have the most powerful army in the Middle East, no doubt about it. They are nuclear. You know what? They are nuclear. And they have a huge influence over media. That's fine. But that does not mean that today we can distort facts. We, the Palestinians, have been struggling and we will continue to struggle. 75 years have passed since Nakba. We will continue to struggle and we will never forsake that. And the issue of land for peace, for me, it suggests the following. It suggests that the Israelis have the land and magnanimously they will give a gesture of generosity to the Palestinians for peace. This is our land. This is our land. You are not giving us anything. It is our land. So therefore, if you would like to talk about the future, let us talk about the future. I don't mind. Annihilation of no one. No Palestinian would like to annihilate any Jew. No. But would you accept to live equally with the Palestinians in that territory? No. You will not. So this is what this is apartheid, which I'm referring to. From the sea to the river, there is a land. And on that land, there are people who control the resources, life of people, and there are people who are oppressed, persecuted, 4,900 people in jail, amongst them 160 child in jail. And on daily basis we have the killing, and that is what we call apartheid. And not only apartheid, by the way, in West Bank. Even Beit Salim again, Amnesty International, Human Rights Watch are referring to apartheid and the basic law, which I spoke about, where the Israeli basic law, which is, by the way, basic law, it means a constitution in a way or another, because Israel doesn't have a constitution, is discriminating against the Arabs, who are 20% of them. 20% of the Israeli citizens are Arabs, who are also discriminated against inside Israel, not in West Bank. Why we need to end this apartheid? Not annihilate the Jews. You know why? Because I would like you to be free as well. The oppressor will never be free if he continues to be oppressor. I have learned this statement from Nelson Mandela personally, when he said, we are struggling not to free the Africans, but also to free the whites, because the oppressor will live the tyranny of oppression that will ruin the fabric of its society. Israel's social and political fabric is corrupt right now. For God's sake, we have 2 ministers who are terrorists in your government. We have 2 ministers who are advocating day and night to kill Palestinians publicly on TV, dancing with images of babies of Palestinians that were killed. Ben Gvir and Smotrich. We have seen this. The world's seen it. So we are speaking about the Israeli society is declining into that particular chaos because of occupation. Occupation is poisoning the Israeli society as well. So, yes, to have that sense of peace in that territory, to allow the refugees to reclaim their right, and to accept that the Palestinians are humans like you, they have the same rights like you, that will save you from not only the current situation, but a future one will poison the Israeli state and the Israeli society. And I hope that some reasonable people, some people who could follow the model of Nelson Mandela in South Africa, and who could follow the reason of history. You spoke about sense of history. This region has been a mosaic of cultures and religions for centuries, for more than 1,000 years. That is the sense of history. Israel refuses to be part of the region. Israel would like to live inside enclave, surrounded by illegal walls and illegal armies that are, and weapons, including nuclear. This is the problem. If we do not accept that, we cannot have peaceful situation, neither for Palestinians nor for the Jews. And this is why we need to work hard to go beyond having new imagination. We need to abandon that kind of racist attitude that will never convince anyone in the world. The world has changed. The monopoly on a narrative can never be in your hand anymore. So let us face reality. Let us move beyond it, and let us establish true justice and the true peace, that everyone could live peacefully in that land, from the sea to the river. Thank you very much.